Groveland Township regular board meeting for February 12th to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, Laura, can you take roll call for us?
Robert DePalma.
I'm here.
Janelle Kelly. Here. Teresa Bills. Here. Jim Christopher.
Here.
Gina Mazzarelli. Here.
Okay. Everybody should have a copy of today's agenda. Are there any questions or comments on the agenda? If not, a motion to approve is submitted would be in order, and it looked okay to me.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda for February 12th, 2024.
There's a
As
second?
presented.
So,
I'd be happy to second it.
okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's approved. Next is the minutes, and we have several today. First one will be the regular January 8th Township meeting minutes and the fire board meeting minutes. Are there any questions or comments on any of those? Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve the January 8th, 2024 Township and Fire Board meeting minutes.
Second.
as submitted, okay. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Bettina, okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, they're approved. And then we have a special board meeting, which is the budget workshop meeting for February the 7th.
I will make a motion that we accept the Groveland Township special meeting for budget February 7th, 2024 as presented.
Okay, nice job on that. Jen.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll support that.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, and they're approved. We're off to the races today here. First, next is financials, budget amendments.
You know what, you'll see there are a couple areas we may make some budget amendments, but I'm not gonna do it until next month.
Okay,
I figured we're rolling in the home stretch here, so I just figured we'll do it next month and kinda do it all at the same time.
okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Page 3, so if we're looking at accounts payables, page 3, you're gonna see general and building funds. So general, we had about, just over 59,000, so it's 59,133.72. And for building was $399.99 for a total of $59,533.71. This should look pretty familiar because most of these numbers should have been
Been a
on the
budget
budget
workshop.
meeting just 2 days ago, or however many days, 5 days ago, I don't know.
Yeah.
So there shouldn't be anything that's too crazy there. If you flip to 206, our totals there are $23,701.11. Again, nothing really too interesting or different. And then the last one that we have here was trust and agency for a total of $1,957.10, and you'll see a couple of those for Camp Tamarack. Those are coming out of their escrow accounts, that the money that they've already put in, so it's being taken out of those accounts. So if you have no other questions on those, I would motion that the accounts payables are approved as submitted.
Second.
Second, okay, wait, Gina, any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, would you take a roll call vote on that, please?
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert Palma,
Yes.
Janelle Kelly. Yes.
Okay, next is the investment report. Teresa?
Did you want to do?
Yeah, there's nothing,
Oh,
I mean,
I'm
I don't
sorry.
think that's okay. Revenue and expense is gonna look, again, pretty similar to everything that you've already seen last week. We did a few checks, but for the most part, everything's there. You will see those couple of areas in the budget that you probably will do some budget amendments, just some small amounts here and there. But again, I'll wait until next month, so unless you have any questions. I do think for 206, I don't remember if we made a comment about this last month, but you are gonna see some different numbers under the shift and volunteer in case did we say it last month in the meeting or just in the budget
We-
meeting?
Just at the budget meeting.
I brought it up at the end of the meeting, just saying that there's some numbers that are wrong.
Yeah, so I just so that you know, the budget started at 60,000 and it shows year to date is 250. That's just a reporting, kind of swap that occurred back a few months ago.
Apparently they started taking everything out of, run pay rather than shift and run pay, so.
Yeah, so the total number overall there is still okay, but,
It's still less than.
Yeah, we just have to do the amendment at the end.
yeah, in case there were any.
Do a
concerns
journal
or
entry at the
anything.
end.
So again, any questions? Are we good? Okay, then I will pass it along to Teresa.
Okay,
Yeah, you have the, report there showing the last 4 months. Really nothing significant changed here. Everything seems to be going just fine.
okay. Any questions or comments for her? Looks good to me.
Okay.
Okay. This report, there are no reason, or is there gonna be a reason?
Well, I don't think he's here.
He's not here yet, so maybe we
Okay.
should just proceed, and if you
Yeah.
want
All
to.
right,
She
we'll
comes
just,
in, we'll
we'll just,
get there.
table that for now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At public hearings, we have none for tonight. Unfinished business, we have none for tonight, so we'll move right to new business and discuss step increases. This is where the outcome of the budget, we do the annual budget for the township and a workshop in February, that's the minutes that we just approved recently, and then this is the outcome of it, we have to announce them now because they have to be approved at the March meeting.
Before we get to that though, we do have that step increase on there. I just didn't wanna miss that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. This is just, we had decided back in maybe November that we were gonna kind of squish those step increases for our most recent hire, which would be Laura. And she will be due this upcoming month. So she's been doing a phenomenal job. If anyone has been following any of the election related news.
And it was a complete oversight on my part, so don't spike
Sure,
the
you
coffee
don't
for
wanna
me
miss
tomorrow.
that part. That's excitement for Laura. But so I simply would motion that we approve her step increase to begin in March. She's done a phenomenal job and elections it's no joke right now, so.
Okay,
So
that was
starting with the
your-
March 2nd
It
payroll.
would be, yes,
that was your motion?
that is my motion.
I'll second that motion, okay. Any other questions or comments?
No.
If not, need a roll call on it?
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma.
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills.
Yes,
Thank you.
you are worth it.
Yeah,
Very
thank
much.
you, don't take it out on me that I overshot that. Okay, next item is to discuss the resolutions to the pay, and this is part of what comes out. After we kind of looking to see what everybody else did, we did a 3% raise this year, that's what it amounts to. So the first resolution is for the township supervisor. I feel odd doing my own, but I guess I can.
Would you like me to motion it?
Yeah, sure.
So again, as Bob mentioned, we have these four resolutions here to pass. No, four.
Yeah.
Um, But the entire Appropriations Act won't be until next month. So we're just passing these resolutions right now, and I would motion that we approve the resolution 2024-02 for the supervisor salary as presented.
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
Again, it's at 3%.
Yes.
Well, we can say what the number is, I guess.
Yeah, it's in their package.
77,319. If there are no other questions or comments, then a roll call would be in order.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills,
Yes,
Jim Christopher.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is for the clerk.
Should I do that one
no, I'll do
too?
that one. I will make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-03 with to establish the salary for the clerk at a 3% raise, being $72,271 with the associated benefit as listed.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second
Hi,
that.
Gina. Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, it's a dollar amount, I got a roll call, I apologize.
Okay, Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli.
Yes.
Okay. The next one on the agenda is for the treasurer. Janelle?
Yes, would you like me to?
Yes.
Okay, I would love to motion that we pass resolution 2024-04 for the treasurer, again with a 3% raise to $72,271 with the family coverage. That's my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
By Gina?
Sorry, Jim.
Okay.
Give it to
Jim, okay, Jim beat you, okay, Jim. Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, a roll call vote would be in order.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma.
Yes. Okay, and the last one is for the trustee meeting fee. And, I guess okay, that one is a 3% adjustment also. It makes the meeting fee $257.50 per meeting for the trustees. And so that's my motion. Is there a second to that?
That we approve resolution 20.
I'm sorry, resolution 2024-05, I apologize.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, would you take a roll call, Laura?
Yep, Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills.
Yes.
Okay, off to the races here. Next item is to discuss the HRA plan.
So, do you want me to do them?
Yeah.
In the budget meeting, we had kind of discussed this for moving forward. Last year, it was agreed upon that for the HRA, instead of allowing it to continue to roll over and roll over and roll over, they would be paid out at the end of the year. In talking with some of the employees, they felt that some of those funds, especially with lower balances to carry over, they would like to keep those funds in their account so that they can continue to use them. So in our budget meeting, we had discussed that maybe moving forward, we could allow up to a certain amount. I think we said 5,000 was around what we were thinking. However, that's projected moving forward and doesn't account for the recently ended year 2023. So I would like to amend our last year's policy to allow for up to $5,000 in rollover in the HRA. Our employees can still take the option if they want to just get paid out of that, whatever's in that account, that's okay. They can put it into their deferred comp accounts if they prefer. However, I do think that we should offer that option up to $5,000 if they'd like to continue to carry it over, assuming they are still employed with the township. Make sure that's in the minutes.
I agree. So,
Well, that would be my motion anyway.
okay, is there a second to
Catch all
that?
that?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? If not, we're not actually spending money, we're just changing the way we do it, so we can all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's approved. That was an easy fix, okay. And then the next item is to discuss, this again is yours, Janelle, election workers for the huge number of extra hours that are now involved in running the elections this year with the law changes.
Yeah, so again, we have kind of have a plan moving forward, but that really won't take effect until April 1st. And starting Saturday, we are moving into our early hours of voting, which means specifically Lori and I will be working a lot of extra hours. I think we totaled it to about, it was somewhere around 72 hours, I think,
72.
just for the February election outside of our
That was
typically
each, right?
scheduled. Yeah, so just for February, it was 72 hours, and then the other ones, I think it's around 66.
Extra hours.
Additional hours on top of our regularly scheduled hours. So we had discussed paying overtime for Laura, not for me, but for Laura, for those hours, and I believe that we should consider doing that for the February election as well. So my motion would be that we consider paying that time and a half for Laura for any, again, these are outside of regularly scheduled office hours, hours that she would come in.
So for instance, just for clarification, that would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we're closed Monday for
Exactly.
President's Day, so Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And then
And then-
also, we will be here hours earlier and hours later than everyone else,
Okay,
every single weekday.
Yep.
And then again, as you mentioned, the Friday, so. So for anybody who's not following election, that's what's happening, is we have a lot of earlier mornings, later evenings, and then
Extra day.
extra
Yeah,
weekends.
just so they
so
understand,
it's
this is stuff you didn't have to do before, they've added all
correct, this
this.
is the first time that this will be implemented here.
And since we added, or actually, no, we didn't add a line item, we added funds to the line item that we will be paying that
yeah.
hourly rate out of.
Correct, so
And
we,
so it'll come
It's
out.
accounted in the budget,
Right.
yeah.
yeah, we
That's
do
for
have
this
an
year.
election
Oh, no, I know,
administrator
but we'll have to amend it this year in order to
Right,
cover
right.
it, with the hopes that you said maybe we get February back.
Yes,
Yeah.
and those hours are reimbursable from the state. For any additional election help or pay, they should be reimbursable.
Oh, we'll actually get
For
those
the
back?
February election.
They should be,
Okay,
for February,
Famous
just
last
February,
words.
yes.
With the state, yes.
okay.
Okay.
And what are we allowed to do for clerks?
Nobody's-
Because my last I read, it said you can't stipend them, you can't, I mean, it was really,
Not for the elected official.
yeah.
Elected official.
No, that's actually not true.
Is that not
Okay.
true?
What came out, so there's been a lot of discussion. What came out was that to make a change in a clerk's pay, it has to be the base salary.
Okay.
Clerks can be paid base salary, and then they can be paid for additional, like responsibilities, anything that's not a statutory duty,
Okay.
that can be an additional pay. But you cannot pay, like I think an original recommendation was to pay per election, like here's a stipend for this election, and that election, and that election. But because elections are statutory duties for the clerk, the MTA came back and said, no, you really can't do that. So,
Effectively, it's stuff they say for anybody, anytime. If you got some other duty that you're doing that nobody's contemplated, you can do it, but because that's a statutory duty, you can't do it anyway.
for the election itself, no.
Yeah.
Now, again, well,
That's something that we can discuss when we go over the handbook, that
Yeah.
I'm hoping that will happen, yeah.
Okay. Well, so is there a,
So you motioned that,
we would consider the same thing that we're proposing for the budget, the time and a half for Laura, that this would take effect for the February election, which would begin this Saturday.
I'll support that.
okay, so there's a motion and a second. Are there any other questions or comments from the board? If not, Laura, would you take a roll call on that one?
Yeah, Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller.
Okay, next item, this is yours too, Janelle.
Yeah, this
Big day for
probably,
you.
this probably didn't even have to be on there really, but it's just,
Close the
I
election
would,
day.
I would motion that we close the office on election day like we have traditionally done for our major elections.
Okay,
Just 27th, don't you?
27th only, not the early voting days, just the 27th of February.
Second, yeah.
okay, any other questions or comments from the board? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's done, like always.
Aye.
And the next item is the tri-party agreement. I gave everybody a copy of this sheet. This is what I get from, the road commission, and the name I couldn't remember on who we had to call. Laura, this guy in this letter, Tom Noshel.
Oh,
Okay.
really? Okay.
That's what I couldn't remember when you were asking me about this. But anyway, you can see we have, our tri-party money for this budget year is $63,290, $63,290, which means 1/3 of that comes from the township, 1/3 from the county, and 1/3 from the, road commission. And so, what I'm proposing we do is the same thing we did last year, which is use that 40 grand we get from them roughly to pay for spreading the gravel that we're gonna get from levy companies. So that's the reason, one of the reasons the budget looks so much better this year again is because we actually got another year of free gravel and we're using tri-party to pay for the spread. So when we're done, we'll probably have typically like $3,290 left or something.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that is my motion for the board, and then I'll have to send a letter tomorrow. Laura will write a letter to Noshel, or I'll call him and see if he's gonna send me the contract, and I'll just give him a heads up on it. But that's my motion, is there a second too?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, by Gina, any questions or comments from the board? If not, Laura, would you take a roll call on that?
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert Toppama,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills.
Yes.
I'll call him tomorrow morning and find out if he's gonna send the contract or we'll just send him an email. Okay, next item on the agenda is the appoint the PGYA Board of Appointments. So let's take a look at that one. So,
I think that's actually a clerk's item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
This
just,
is
I'm our
Janelle's meeting.
liaison, but, I mean, I'm happy to
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
It's not so she gets her name tag truck.
Didn't you put this in there?
Well, just remember last month or two, we had to approve the.
We did for Haya,
board,
yeah.
Right, it's just, I mean,
oh, this is just the appointments.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Okay.
Which is probably a good thing for me to do anyway, since you're sitting on it, since you're listed.
But I'm not the executive board.
No.
Right.
So yeah, this is really just for us to accept their board. We, like Teresa said, we did this for Haya, I think last month, or maybe even the month before. Or with one, I think it was just one of their board members at the time, but I guess my motion would be to approve the, board members as submitted.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I'll just make one comment, and that is that the executive board, all four people are continuing to serve in the same positions they had been. They were all willing to continue, and everyone unanimously said, yes, that would be awesome.
Makes it easy.
So, yes, and then recently, Judy Miracle resigned from the board of directors. So she was a, what do you call it, member at, like, a volunteer, is what they call it, volunteers. So, that's the only change is she's off of it, Diane Salter's on it, and the executive board is still the same.
So,
All in favor?
did you second?
Jim did.
Jim did, okay.
Yep.
Seeing no other questions or comments, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, okay, it's done. Thank you. We'll move to miscellaneous. First one was Holly Area Youth Support.
So they actually have a meeting tonight. They have moved their meetings to Monday nights.
Oh,
So they made a few changes. Tonight they're they're voting on their budget for the new year. They're also deciding on a new location, so this is their last meeting at the Carl Richter Center. They had 7 new referrals in December, so if you recall, they didn't meet in December, but they did in January. And 13 new referrals in January, a couple of those from Groveland. And really, I think I'll have more probably tomorrow after their meeting, but for right now, the Holly Moose Lodge, they're doing some fundraising and they're looking for some volunteers to sell some 50/50 tickets on Mondays. And then just for Holly Area Veterans Resource Center, their next vet-to-vet dinner is the 19th of February. It is free to veterans. They're holding some food drives. They will not be distributing the food. However, they are trying to collect it so that they can pass it along to the people who are distributing. That will be the 13th and 14th of February, so the next couple of days, and then the 11th and 12th. Nothing perishable. And then they're looking for some volunteers for outreach projects, and their next board meeting is on Wednesday. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. BGYA?
BGYA, their meeting is tomorrow, but I can say that, they did invite sponsors to the sponsor breakfast, which is March 7th, 7:30 a.m. over at the iTech Center. Each of us should have received an invitation, and I am happy to RSVP. Of course, I'll be going. It's a Thursday morning. It is earlier than what we normally start here, so typically their speaker is somebody from the family court division. And then should be done between 9 and 10 a.m. So if you would like to go, let me know. I will RSVP for everybody.
I think I called him in, but I'll go.
Bob, all right, so yeah, you don't have to let me know right this second, but if you decide you wanna go, like, before the end of the week, I'd like to go ahead and give them an RSVP, or even, you know, if you know, even if you, whatever you decide is fine. That is a really nice breakfast over at the iTech Center, and, last year's was very, very nice. Then, the youth recognition event is, April 25th at the end of April, and nominations, that was written up in the newspaper in the Citizen, with the nomination form, a link to that. We have nomination forms here. The online doc can be found at bgya.org, or I think the school district's website, or from the Citizen. You can call Shelby or contact me. And nominations are due March 1st. And those are pretty much the highlights right now.
Okay, thank you. Planning Commission, Jim?
Planning Commission did not meet to hear any petitioners, but we did get together for continuing education, for lack of better words. I don't know really what we call it. It was useful, and I think we agreed that we're gonna be on an honor system for the other two educational events to do them online. And honestly, I'm pretty sure that's all we had.
Okay. Gina, ZBA?
So to speak to what Jim is alluding to, it was, continuing it through MTA, and I do know that some people have looked at the other two, subsequent classes. It was a series of 3. Can't tell you who they are though, because you don't, everybody would be checked in under my name. But somebody definitely has, because I get a completion when they are done, and that's happened. And our meeting, we did have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, but the owner had changed their mind, so there is no zoning appeals meeting scheduled.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor, now that the budget has been done, I intend to put together, hopefully for March, a review for the board to set through what I'm gonna propose we do with the township's park property. But a couple of things of interest that happened, I think I mentioned last time that, the legislation over wind and solar and what they call those storage batteries. Well, we have a company, Vesper, I think is the name, that's going to locate one of those storage batteries adjacent to the ITC corridor power line that runs through our township. And it got me thinking, if they can store that much electricity and feed it back to ITC, why can't somebody do that to provide electric service on here? Because when I called consumers last week, the 2 runs that come out here, one stops up in Genesee and doesn't come down. The other one stops down, I think, south of the Holly Road there and doesn't come up. And she keeps on telling me I have to have some kind of a committed customer, but when you get somebody like the laser plant I had, and they tell them they need $500,000 before they start to put electricity in, and it takes 2 years, they're not usually thrilled with that. Well, it just so happens, if you recall, that we were the host for the MTA board at the ORV park last summer. One of the supervisors that I took through the Task Force 1 building happens to be the supervisor in Coldwater. And when Danielle and I went to the trade show at the county a couple months ago, somebody at the trade show came up to me from a manufacturer of these gas-powered generators that they built for a plant out there. And then after they built it, the city was so impressed by it, they took it over and made it part of their utility service. So in Coldwater, it's on the west side of the state, kind of north of US 12. The city of Coldwater runs the sewer, water, and electric service for everybody. And the township of Coldwater, which completely surrounds it, buys all those services from the city. And when I started talking to Don, the supervisor out there, he said, oh yeah, I got 2 or 3 of those now. Every time we put up a big factory or a large greenhouse, they build one of these generators and then they use some storage batteries, and that's how we get our electricity service, and it works great for us. So I'm going to, I called the storage battery people here, and I said, if you have a battery and you're putting it like 2 miles south of our property, that same ITC line goes across the edge of our property, why can't you put one there to sell me service? And first she was kind of, well, I don't know if they do that, and I don't know, we have to go through consumers. I thought, well, okay, yeah, but it'll work, won't it? Well, now I know it works because cold water does it, okay? They just do it with a different battery supplier. And I'm going to put a call in tomorrow and see if I can arrange a tour to go see one of those plants and how they're actually making it work and find out the nuts and bolts of it. Because I called back to consumers and I said, I want you to do this for me. And they said, well, we'll check. And I'm thinking, it's gonna be harder to say no. I also have a meeting on the 20th, I think it is, with Matt Danaskis and his son. And I'm going to, he's wanted to know what he could do to get involved in this project and help us. I think that's someplace he can make a difference. So that's what I'll be working on the next couple of weeks when we get together next month. Maybe I'll have some more input for you, but that's kind of what's going on. I'm gonna get that. We've got 3 or 4 other vendors I have to talk to, and then I'm gonna assemble a package for the board. We'll have a workshop where we go over what I'm gonna propose are the alternatives for the property and who we might wanna use, and we'll see what everybody wants. Chief?
I'd like to go to that plant if you get a tour.
I would be happy to take you because one of the things that was kind of interesting when I talked to, and I'm sure it's the same for whoever's making their battery. And by the way, it's on the ITC power line out there in Coldwater too, so they're doing it all over the place. They're doing one in Van Buren. But one of the things I asked them when the company came to us to talk about it, I said is, what do you do when they get on fire? Because they're basically big cells of lithium batteries. He said, well, we have an emergency team. They respond within 30 minutes. And if it's burning, they stand back and wait until it burns to the ground. I said, just like we do with electric cars, right, Chief?
Well, you can do that.
Same thing, watch it burn up.
Yeah.
But I
Protect
said,
exposures is what you do.
yeah, so I said, if there is some specific equipment or something, I think you guys need to provide some training for our fire department and whatever kind of equipment we might need for that so we know what to do. Because they might take a half hour there, but I'm sure we'd be there a lot quicker than that.
I can't see how they could be there in a half an hour either.
I know, they're all remote monitored, nobody's in them. The whole thing's apparently completely automated. It looks like a row of shipping containers and they're sticking it in the middle of the woods on a 62-acre lot.
I'm saying, if you're at my house to get to where
Take you 20 minutes
it
probably,
takes you
right?
20 minutes to get there, just, I gotta get dressed. And
You're like 4 minutes miles away.
So,
But yeah,
if they're lithium ion phosphate, they're less likely to catch fire, so they're doing a lot better now.
yeah, and I don't know what's that. I mean, I just know they're lithium batteries. But when I get that set up, I'll give you a call because I think it'd be interesting just to see how they do it.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Okay, be good. Okay, I'll let both of you guys know. We'll make a field day out of it. So that's what I'm gonna try and set up tomorrow when I call back to them. I'm waiting to see what consumers comes back to me with an answer. I'm gonna wait and meet with Matt Danaskis because I think that and roads in our property would be another area he could help us with because he did such a great job on getting us the easement behind consumers. Like I said, we spent a year on that and he made one phone call.
Bob, I talked with a gentleman who works for a planner, and I'm sorry to say I didn't pay a ton of attention. I'm asking if you know anything about special zoning or special language from the state of Michigan embracing these type of sustainable initiatives?
Yes, there's a push to have legislation introduced. They passed the law last November, but I don't think they've actually published exactly what it is. And the way it works right now is if you have an ordinance of your own that you want, and it doesn't conflict with what they're going to do, because they're gonna take over approval of all of them, then you can use yours. And the people from Vesper that I talked to said, well, we don't have an ordinance yet. I said, well, actually, I think they're in the perfect place. They're next to the ITC corridor. They leased with an option to buy 62 acres. It's all wooded. They're gonna clear 8 or 10 acres in the middle of it, put the stuff there, and tie it into the line. So, and we stand to get a very good one-time licensing fee for them to do that. So I emailed them the other day and said, why don't you send me your idea of an ordinance? And Danielle has checked with the MTA, they don't have one yet, but when I get theirs, I'm gonna send it to the MTA, see if we can't get one of our own and use it for that to get the money.
Cool.
But I think they're gonna happen. It's kinda like the mining stuff right now where we can say what we want, but if they finally get that legislation through, we're
we're not gonna have any input in it at all.
Well, the ballot language has been approved and the petitions are out
To
so that
take
they
that-
can
it has
establish
to come
local
back,
control,
right.
right, to bring local control
And
back.
so I think that
And
these
they're
people,
circulating now.
and these people with the batteries were very amenable to trying to do whatever would work good, so what I'm trying to do is make nice with them, so
Right.
I get what they want and take it to the MTA and see if they agree with it, and if it is, then it'll be something we can do and get it
Yeah,
ourselves.
there's a big discussion on the MTA blog every day saying, can you put a petition in your township or not? Because it is relevant to us, it's very relevant to us, and it has to do with it's zoning and ordinances, it's
Yeah.
not, you know.
But you know, one of the best ways I think to fight this stuff when they do it, it's like the mining deal where this is what frosted me the last time I went to testify again. They make statements like, we have all these pending litigations and they're just tying us in court, we can't get anything through. And then they listed like 11 of them, they said we're in Michigan. And one of them was in Groveland, or two of them, and two of them were another place. And the guy that got up, the supervisor got up before me, said, that's my township, and I don't know anything about any litigation on it. And then I got up and said, and I'm the next one after him, and I don't know anything about it, because we've done all of ours. I think if you can show that you can work something that's reasonable, and I understand the problems with the wind generators, because there's a lot of shutter effect and so forth, and maybe even some of the solar stuff, but these batteries, if they stick them where they're talking about it, it could be the godsend that we need to be able to get enough amperage, because basically what they're doing is taking power off of ITC's corridor in the evening when nobody's using much of it, storing it up, and then when they get high demand during the day, they plug it back in, and you know, they make their money on the margin between it, and they're huge. The one that they're putting in Groveland is 300 mega amps. So that's,
Megawatts?
the one in Groveland is 300 mega amps. Yeah,
Megawatts, Bob.
or megawatts, I'm sorry, yeah. So that's a lot of juice,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. It's not like you want to touch it, you know.
Only once.
Light up like a Christmas tree, right? So, it's, you know, I think the smaller ones are about 200. So this is a pretty good size one. They're putting another one in Van Buren Township too, so. Those are two, and then this other company's got some out in Coldwater, and they're going in all over the place, I think. And it precludes the utility company from the need to build more plants, which are very expensive, just to take care of peak. So from that, it's a pretty good idea, really.
They have a lot of power stations, like you were talking, that Coldwater one, where they'll start them up for peak usage.
Yeah,
So if you can store it in a battery and just use it.
and I think that's how they combined it over there, so, cause this guy said, yeah, I got 3 or 4 of them things around here. Every time somebody builds a big greenhouse or a plant, we stick one of them out there. So I'm kinda anxious to see it and talk to them and find out how, from a regulator perspective, the city of Coldwater actually adopted it. And I think what it is when they saw this technology, they thought, this actually makes good sense. We don't wanna end up losing our client base, so we'll buy them and take them over. And the guy that built the one plant anyway in Coldwater was at that trade show I went to with Danielle. So it actually, you know, when I walk out of a show like that, if I get one good thing out of it, I think it was worthwhile. I got a couple out of that one. So anyway, that's what I'll be doing, and I'll let you guys know when we're going, so we'll set it up so we can all go at the same time.
Plus, they also said that they would be paying personal property tax on
the battery stuff, yeah.
all their stuff, and that could be quite sizable.
Yeah, for us, honestly, the way they're doing it, I can't think of it. The only thing I can think of would be better is if they move it 2 miles north and stick it on ITC on our property. And I told consumers, I'll give you, she said, well, the gal that wrote me back first from the meeting said, well, where is it you're developing, where do you want? I said, you tell me where you want to put it, I got room for you, I'll stick you on there. Because we could stick it on right next, between that road and the power grid. On that piece going back, and there's that little tail section on it that's really not good for anything else, which would have direct access to Dixie if they needed service trucks to get in and out. It'd be perfect, but I give it to them if they put the power there so we had something capable that we could do right away. But that, you know, these deals take me a little while to finagle with them, so I'm just in the early stages of it right now.
We're oriented the building so that we, in the future, look at getting a grant to put solar system on it, so. I don't know if there's anything out there yet, but
Yeah.
I was waiting for the building to get built before we started looking for that.
And to that note, I do have a conference call next Tuesday, I think, with Barry, his electrical contractor, and the state police, because they sent me a bunch of changes on the electrical requirement. And you were kind enough to go up there and verify what I thought was in the closet, which we have way more in our basement here. I think I have that much in my house that the state police have in that building. It's one rack with like 3 boxes on it, okay? And they sent me this voluminous electrical requirement with 3 rust-proof conduits coming out to a manhole cover past the landscaping and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. My linen closet's bigger than that, right? But Barry said his contractor has done several MSP posts. He's familiar with it. He looked at the first one and said he didn't think it was a problem, but then they sent another one last week. So that's gotta get resolved before we do anything, because they're gonna have to lay those into the concrete.
I should probably go to that one too for the backup generator change.
I mentioned it to him, but you're welcome to join me, okay? So when you pop into the office, double check with me what day it is, but I think it's next Tuesday, okay? Cause I did remember to mention, I said, yeah, Kevin said he needs a pipe for the
I've
generator
talked to
too.
Barry maybe 3 times about it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Take care of that.
Okay.
I'm sure he will. Just wanna make sure we put the conduit in before we start paving.
That's what's gonna happen anyway. We got most of the bids I needed for everything. I just gotta put it together for everybody and come up with what I think a couple of recommendations are for us to consider, so we can decide how to move forward with it and get it going. And we adjusted for it in the budget, so we got the dollars there for that as well. Okay. Janelle, anything? More? This has been pretty much your meeting
Oh,
tonight.
yeah, I'm so glad y'all came. I mean, the biggest thing for us, of course, is the election, and like I said, early voting will start this Saturday. We'll go for 9 days straight. We'll have 1 break of a day on Monday, where we can collect our thoughts,
Monday the 26th.
the 26th, and then the 27th is your traditional election day, where you'll vote in your normal precincts. All of the early voting will be downstairs here. So really, Laura and I have been kind of trying to pull all those pieces together. And you know, we don't have all the puzzle pieces. But that's really what we've been really working on. I did meet, I think last year sometime, the board, I was not part of the board at that time, approved Chris Johnessy to do some handyman work around here. I did have the opportunity to meet with him last week, and he is interested. I'm waiting on some paperwork from him. But I would, if you
Need
think,
a list, right?
I need a list. I kind of walked around a little bit with him. I know a lot of times we kind of hear things, you know, pop up. So if you see anything, please try to send me an email, let me know. Oh yeah, that looks like that could be fixed. Because when he's here, I forget half of it. I can, point out the few things that are at the forefront of my mind. But if you see things, please let me know. Because he'd ideally like to have maybe a full day or a couple of days where he can come and just putz and do it all at one time instead of just an hour here or an hour there. And then the only other thing that I just wanted to bring up in some of my digging of paperwork over the last couple of weeks and working on some of the budget stuff and election stuff, I did discover some of our handbooks and policy manuals, and I know that those were redone about 5 years ago by a company that kind of came in and did that. I would recommend that maybe sometime in the future here we revisit those. There's just a lot of contradictory information in some areas that aren't overly clear. It just may be helpful for us to consider sometime.
Okay, good idea.
So those are my thoughts.
Okay, Teresa, anything for treasurer?
Taxes due this Wednesday without penalty. They are still payable through the end of the month here in the township. Penalties start accruing February 15th. And personal property tax exemption forms are due February 20th. They need to be down to Oakland County, but as long as they're postmarked by February 20th or in my hands by then, I can get them to them. Then this past weekend, you should have received your letter from Oakland County that you open it up and it says, this is not a tax bill, it's your assessment or valuation letter. Those were mailed out, I believe on the 6th or so,
Yeah, I got mine
and
Saturday.
I think I got mine Friday or Saturday. Every single person got one for every single parcel that they own. It shows the changes from what your values were in 2023 to what your values are going to be in 2024. They did go up 5%, that is just because of rate of inflation, or 5%, whichever is the lower number, and since inflation is officially, for the purposes of it, is 5.1% is what they determined inflation was for 2023. So from 2022 to 2023, inflation was like, I think 7.9%, and so our tax bills went up by 5%. So again, from 2023 to 2024, our tax bills are going up by another 5%. That's statewide due to inflation. The last thing I'll mention is check your letter for accuracy. If you've lost your principal residence exemption, you're gonna notice it'll say that your taxes are going to increase by some very large number, and you need to make sure that, you know, you take care of any clerical errors before they become real problematic for your escrow and all that, yeah. And so March Board of Review information is on the bottom of those letters, and you know, I encourage people, if you're listening to this, I encourage you to, you know, take a look at your valuation paper, because by the time you get your tax bill in July, you've missed your opportunity to appeal at the March Board of Review. So if you have questions or anything, there's a phone number at the bottom of that letter to call our assessor, or you can call this office, and I'm happy to help direct you to where you need to go, okay? That's pretty much it for me.
I think it's worth mentioning, probably, I forgot to say this before, I did a quick video, I think it's 11 minutes, on the state of the township for 24, and Teresa's got a letter that's going to the citizen.
I've written a letter to the editor to try to explain some of this
Some
stuff.
of these tax issues, and then she's going to do a video too, coming up here, that's gonna explain the taxes, because I don't think people realize how little of the tax that we collect actually stays here, among other things. And then I'm gonna do another video in the summer after we get done determining how we wanna approach the Tech Park project with the promotional material on that, and we'll run that for everybody in the office too. I mean, everybody in the township too. So, okay, well, with that, I have nothing else. Are there any questions from the public?
I think Dave wants it. Sorry I was late when I first went out.
All right, if there are no questions, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned and we're reconvened, chief, for the fire meeting. So we're all here, the meeting is yours.
Thank you. If you look at your sheet, we had 110 calls for January, which was 40 more than we had the previous year.
Yeah, it's a big increase from last year.
Currently, we're at 28 calls for this month, so just a little bit over 2 calls a day right now. For new business, I'd like to recommend hiring Catherine Vicante. I think that's how you say that. She's an EMT, taking a paramedic course right now. She works for Star, and she works with Tamby, and she lives, I believe, in Flint, but she works for
Who's Tamby?
Tamby Pace.
She's another person.
She's a paramedic
I
for
thought
us.
you were-
She works with her at Star.
I think, well, okay.
So she's doing her ride-alongs with Tamby now, and so I'd like to recommend we hire her in as a fill-in.
I'll make a motion that we hire Catherine Vicante as an EMT paramedic student as a fill-in. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments from the board? All in favor? Oh, it's actually gotta be paid, right? So do a roll call.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher.
Yes.
The smoke detectors have been going out like gangbusters. I know I put, I think 5 of them in on Friday
Where do we get those from?
from the state. There's a
grant?
continuing grant, so we just call them up and say, hey, we need another case of them. So I think we've gone through 2 cases now already. And so the people come by, hey, can I get some smoke detectors? And we talked to them about, you know, fire plan and escape plans and things like that when they come pick them up. And, you know, just basically it's no cost to them and it's no cost to us, so it's working out real
It's
well.
like a good PR thing.
Yeah, are they seeing it because it's out on the
Yes,
sign?
it is because of the sign.
Okay.
I saw it on the sign where we get, that's where most of them get it from. I didn't get prior approval for this, but Alpha 2 when we got the radio installed, lost all power. So we took it over to Bedrock and they repaired it, the turbo disintegrated in it. And that was a $4,100 bill, so. I wasn't expecting it to be that much, but everything costs a lot of money anymore, so.
And on the radio.
Well, because they're not Chinese turbos, I'm sure. Those are cheap on the internet, they are.
Probably get them on Temu.
Yeah, but not when you need it for a fire engine.
Apparently, it sounded like the turbo came apart and shut,
The bearing cage.
and
probably
then,
go up,
then
right?
it just disintegrated the turbo in it, so. And I also included, this month, or January's and December's breakdown, because if you remember correctly, I didn't have it last month, because the system was down. And, all the new radios have been installed on the trucks. If you remember the brush truck we got for free, we took it out that last fire, and the alternator went out, and Captain Williams had to drive back with the flashlight shining out the window. But,
You don't recall, right?
yeah, so we got a
Use a
new,
cigarette lighter into one of those things.
yeah, so, we got a new alternator for that, and that's working now, and, we got the quote for the door. They ordered the parts for the garage door that was damaged. I think it was $3,400 to fix that, so. It's never, never ending.
He came to
repairs.
me though, I told him to go ahead and get it done, the truck broke or the door busted, so.
Right.
So, and that's all I have. If there's
Okay.
any questions.
No,
No?
I think we're all set, I think it's good.
Any bids on a truck for you or a vehicle for, another vehicle?
I do have some quotes, and they all right at 60 grand. The last time I looked at the Tahoe was $7,200.
Okay.
That's the
But
brand
that's
new Tahoe.
8 grand.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, yeah.
You did, it's an grant.
Let me double check real quick.
Oh, it's a fair question.
$7,200 has got 8 days left, but I think that's, kind of at the limit I wanted to pay for it anyway, so
Okay.
we'll see. But, I'll bring in those quotes, but, and I got a number to call for that service through the county. I haven't called them yet, though.
All right. That's it?
That's it.
Okay, well, no further questions, any from the audience? If not, motion to adjourn is in order.
I'll motion we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second
Any questions or comments? Not? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. It's almost a record, 50 minutes.
that. 50 minutes. We got done faster today than we did, what was that other, what was happening?
I don't know.
Are you gonna have
Like,
one
big,
thing?
big parade. I know, but there was something on.
Yeah.
Oh,
the Lions,
yeah.
and they're all like,
Oh, yeah,
Five.
I know.
we got done faster today.
Yeah.
So, I know it's in this, minutes and it'll be in the appropriations.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mention these things out loud.
Well, I don't think so. I think all everything is going to stay for us. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I ever remember. I mean, we could go through the rest.
Cause that's not
Yeah.
affected by the 3%,
Well, then,
right?
Are we still recording or are we done recording?